Welcome to this packed video screencast. In this step-by-step tutorial, you will learn practical skills with one of the most exciting Java Server Faces frameworks available today, named PrimeFaces. Once you have finished, you will be able to develop powerful web applications that are fast, lightweight, and feature-rich. But before that, let's see what PrimeFaces is and how we want to exploit it further. Among other Java Server Faces frameworks, PrimeFaces is capable to provide the main features of any great framework. So PrimeFaces is simple to use, is effective in production, is very powerful, and, last but not least, is lightweight. But what is actually PrimeFaces made of? Well, PrimeFaces is a lightweight library with one Java archive, 0 configurations, and no required dependencies. It contains a set of over 100 components, all of them compatible with HTML5. Besides the great look and feel, PrimeFaces components supports fine-grained AJAX capabilities, and these components can be used in web applications that are executed on personal computers, laptops, or even on mobile devices through the cross-platform mobile render kit. In addition, PrimeFaces comes with PrimeFaces Push, which is based on the Atmosphere framework. As a quick note, Atmosphere is the most popular asynchronous application development framework for enterprise Java. Besides Push, PrimeFaces comes with PrimeFaces extensions, which is a lightweight open source component library for Java Server Faces 2.0. Built on top of PrimeFaces, this library contains extended components missing in other Java Server Faces libraries, or improved components, which already exist somewhere but don't work there smoothly. Finally, PrimeFaces comes with PrimeUI, which is a collection of rich JavaScript widgets based on jQuery UI. Actually, PrimeUI is just a spin-off from PrimeFaces. Now, speaking about PrimeFaces richness and about web applications interfaces as close as possible to that of desktop applications, you should check the mock OS X presentation on PrimeFaces website. As the final checkpoint, you should know that PrimeFaces components supports a set of themes, which are very easy to install and configure. These themes provides a cool visual experience and allows us to fit the application look with its goal. Well, now that you know what PrimeFaces is, let's see what we will develop in this video. So next, we will develop a sample web application named My Gallery. This application will be powered by PrimeFaces and will consist in a single page that allows us to upload photos from local computer, list photos names in a table and have an overlay preview, and check-uncheck photos that will be added or removed from the photo viewer gallery. In order to accomplish these steps, we can think of the abstract design and nominate the main components. So our page will consist in 3 distinct zones: a header, a footer, and a content zone. Further, we will focus on the content zone, which will contain 2 buttons, a table, and a photo viewer gallery. One button will be used for opening a dialog box containing the upload feature, and the other button will be used to synchronize the table content with the photo viewer gallery content. For developing this application, you need to download and install NetBeans 8.0.1 with Glassfish 4. As you will see in the next video, PrimeFaces 5 is already bundled in NetBeans 8.0.1. but it also can be freely downloaded from PrimeFaces website as a Java archive or as a Maven dependency. Since PrimeFaces is a Java Server Faces framework, we need to provide a Java Server Faces distribution. Actually, Java Server Faces 2.2 is already bundled in Glassfish 4, but you can also download it from Java Server Faces website as a Java archive or as a Maven dependency. So far, you know what PrimeFaces is and you have all the tools prepared. In the next video, we will begin by developing two NetBeans web application stubs, one using local Java archives and another one using Maven. Hello and welcome to the second video of section 1. In order to develop the My Gallery website, we first need to create a stub web application based on Java Server Faces and PrimeFaces. This kind of stub can be created using NetBeans, and as you will see next, NetBeans provides a web application stub using local Java archives, and another one using Maven. You will see how to make use of PrimeFaces for both stubs. The first one will be named My Local Gallery, and the second one will be named My Maven Gallery. In both cases, we will add Java Server Faces and PrimeFaces frameworks using NetBeans help, so at the end you will have two web application stubs with Java Server Faces and PrimeFaces ready to serve. We have several solutions for building a web application based on Java Server Faces and PrimeFaces, but the main scope is to obtain a complete and functional application without losing too much time on configurations. Thanks to the fact that Java Server Faces and PrimeFaces are bundled in NetBeans, this kind of issues can be solved with just a few mouse clicks, which means that NetBeans can do the hard work for us and can assist us while developing. So, after you start NetBeans, you can start creating a new empty web application stub based on local Java archives. First, you need to choose the New Project option from the File main menu. In the New Project wizard, locate the Java Web category and choose the Web Application project type. After you click the Next button, you need to specify the project name, which in this case is My Local Gallery. After you typed the project name and found a convenient place where the project will be saved, you can click the Next button. Now you must choose the application server used for deploying and running our application, and the Java Enterprise distribution. By default, NetBeans comes with Glassfish application server and enterprise platform already selected, but you can manually select them also. Next, it is time to bring into the application the Java Server Faces and PrimeFaces distributions. So, click the Next button. As we said before, NetBeans comes with several frameworks that can be added using this wizard. As you can see here, we have Struts, Hibernate, Spring, and Java Server Faces. Since PrimeFaces is based on Java Server Faces, we need to add the Java Server Faces in our project. So, we need to check this item. Notice that by default, NetBeans will use Java Server Faces version 2.2, which is actually bundled in Glassfish 4. Since this is the perfect choice in our case, next, we should pay attention on adding PrimeFaces, and in order to accomplish this, we have to switch to the Components tab. Notice that in NetBeans wizard, PrimeFaces comes as a Java Server Faces component and not as a separate framework. After you check the PrimeFaces checkbox, you should click on the More button. This is needed for matching the version of PrimeFaces with the Java Server Faces version, since Java Server Faces and PrimeFaces are more or less compatible depending on their versions. A great match consists in Java Server Faces 2.2 and PrimeFaces 4 or 5. So, we will focus on adding PrimeFaces 5, which is the latest version when this video was made. PrimeFaces 5 is available by default in NetBeans 8.0.1, so we just need to select it from the drop-down containing available PrimeFaces distributions. Once you have done that, you can click the OK button. Finally, click the Finish button and wait a few seconds until NetBeans puts all the steps together and create our first PrimeFaces web applications tab. At this point, we can use this tab to start developing the My Gallery application. But before that, let's point out the main dependencies for accomplishing the same project using Maven. So, Java Server Faces 2.2 and PrimeFaces 5 are available at Maven Central. Now that we know what should be added in the POM file, let's see how to develop a Maven web applications tab using NetBeans. In order to create the Maven project, you have to select the new project item from the file main menu. Afterwards, you have to choose the NetBeans web applications tab under the Maven category. And click the Next button. After we provide a name to this project, we have to select the Glassfish application server and the Java Enterprise platform, and click the Finish button. After my Maven Gallery project is listed in the Projects panel, you have to edit the POM file. Well, the POM file can be found here. Once you have opened it in the NetBeans editor, you have to locate the Dependencies section and add here the Java Server Faces and PrimeFaces dependencies. In order to accomplish this, you can simply copy-paste the code directly from the Maven Central repository. Now we have two projects. One developed using Maven, named My Maven Gallery, and one developed using local Java archives, named My Local Gallery. Next, we can try a first run of one of these projects. So, let's try My Local Gallery project. After a few seconds needed for Glassfish to start and deploy the application, you should see this result. Notice that NetBeans already has generated 2 pages for us, and the index page consists in just a simple navigation link to the Welcome PrimeFaces page, which contains the PrimeFaces component named Layout. In this video, we created an application in both Maven and Java archives, and also tested the application. Before starting to develop the My Gallery application, let's customize the look and feel with a cool built-in PrimeFaces theme and some crumbs of CSS code. Welcome to the third part of section 1. Before starting to develop the My Gallery application, let's customize the look and feel with a cool built-in PrimeFaces theme and some crumbs of CSS code. These modifications will be applied at application level. From the long list of built-in PrimeFaces themes, we will choose the one named Minchak. This can be downloaded from PrimeFaces website as a Java archive, or as it can be added in any project as a Maven dependency. So in our case, we can add it as a local Java archive in the project named My Local Gallery, and as a Maven dependency in the project named My Maven Gallery. In order to activate the theme, we need to indicate the team name using a context parameter in web XML file. This parameter will tell PrimeFaces which team should be used, since we may have multiple teams available in the same project. So first, let's add it in the web XML file of the My Local Gallery application. Now, the same task should be accomplished in my Maven gallery, but if you check my Maven gallery application, you will notice that there is no web XML file. Well, the web XML file exists in my local gallery because we have added Java Server Faces through NetBeans wizard. Now, the easiest way to accomplish this task is to copy the web XML file from my local gallery to my Maven gallery application. Next, we have to look at my local gallery application. Notice that NetBeans already has generated 2 pages for us. The index page consists in just a simple navigation link to the Welcome PrimeFaces page, which contains the PrimeFaces component named Layout. Further, we can delete the index page and rename the Welcome PrimeFaces page as Index. This is useful for removing the navigation case, which is not needed in our application. Okay, so let's have a quick test now. Just press the Run button. As you can see, everything seems to work fine, but we have to add some CSS code for adjusting the font size and alignment inside the PrimeFaces layout component. We can accomplish this in the index page by locating the head section and typing the following chunk of CSS code. Well, it's true that the common practice is to have a separate CSS file and add it here as a resource by using the Java Server Faces output stylesheet component. But since this is just a small piece of CSS code, I think it will not bother anybody if we place it here. Next, we have to accomplish the same task in my Maven gallery application by replacing the index page from here with the index page from my local gallery application. So now we can perform another quick test. Just press the Run button and wait a few seconds until you see this result. Notice that the font is smaller than before, which means that the CSS code is running perfectly. So far, we have 2 projects with the same results. One of them was developed using Maven and the other one using local Java archives. Both of them have the same PrimeFaces theme, named Minchak. In this video, we added a cool theme to our application called Minchak, and also added some crumbs of CSS code. We now have everything set and ready to start developing the My Gallery application. So join me when I will do that in the next video. Welcome to the second section of the Rapid PrimeFaces video screencast. In the previous section, we have set up the proper environment for developing our first PrimeFaces application. You already know that we intend to develop an application named My Gallery, and we already have created the step for it. For now, let's have a quick overview of what we intend to obtain. Our application will be powered by PrimeFaces components, and it will look like this. Let's suppose that we have a list of photos that are stored in a specific location on the server side of our application. The photos' names will be listed in a data table with pagination capability. In this data table, the user will be able to see previews and to select or deselect the photos that will be added or removed from the gallery. In addition, the user may upload more photos, which will be listed in the same data table. The upload will be available in a modal window that can be displayed using a simple button labeled Upload Photos. We will allow only photos in PNG, JPG or GIF format, and only the ones that are smaller than 2 MB. We will add another button labeled Refresh Gallery, which will update the gallery content to reflect the selections made in the table. The gallery will be capable to display photos with nice effects. We want to keep the application simple as possible. So the uploaded photos will be saved in a folder named Photos. In addition, we need to add another folder named Icons, which only contains several icons internally needed by the application. Notice that the uploaded photos will be deleted each time you redeploy the application. In this video, we had a quick overview of what we will develop, and we have done the final check before we start coding. In the next video, we will follow a simple scenario. We will start by developing the client side using a couple of PrimeFaces tags. Each tag maps a PrimeFaces component, and its behavior is shaped by several attributes. See you in the next video. Hello again and welcome to the second video of section 2. In the previous video, we had a quick overview of the My Gallery application. Further, we start the developing process by creating a page layout for our application. But before that, let's have a quick overview of the generated code. The big news here consists in the PrimeFaces namespace. This namespace, prefixed with P, represents the PrimeFaces namespace. Each time we add a PrimeFaces component in our page, it will belong to this namespace and it will be prefixed with P letter. It's obvious that PrimeFaces and Java Server Faces follows the same trend of using their tags. By default, NetBeans has already added the PrimeFaces layout component. This is a page layout based on 5 layout panels. The top panel as North, the bottom panel as South, the left panel as West, the right panel as East, which is actually not available here, and the center panel. Each panel acts as a container for the other PrimeFaces components. As you can see, the layout panels are resizable, are collapsible, and are closable. And you can delete directly from the code any of these panels, except the center panel. So the PrimeFaces layout component is added using the layout tag, while each panel of the layout component is added using the layout unit tag. We start by redesigning the layout to fit our needs, so we have to remove the West panel and keep visible the North, the Center and the South panels. We do this task now, before adding the rest of PrimeFaces components, the buttons, the data table, upload and gallery. So just select the West panel and delete it. Next, we need to block the North and the South panels for being resized, closed or collapsed. For this, we have to switch the corresponding attributes from true to false. Now we can perform a quick test. As you can see, the West panel was removed and the rest of panels are blocked. In this video, we have chosen the visible layout units and we have customized the units look and feel. Next, we will pay attention to the center panel, which is the main layout container for our application. Here, we will shape and design the functionality of our application based on PrimeFaces components. But for this, you have to follow me in the next video. Welcome to the third video of section 2. In the previous video, we have prepared the page layout for our application. Now, in this video, we will add the PrimeFaces components in the center panel of our page layout, and we will start by adding the PrimeFaces DataTable component. This component is a very powerful PrimeFaces component. It allows us to manipulate data that makes sense when it's displayed in a table. This kind of data is known as tabular data. The PrimeFaces DataTable component actually extends the Java Server Faces data table with some important features. Among data table features, we have pagination, lazy loading, subtables, sticky notes, sort, filter, and so on. In our application, we need a data table that contains 3 columns. In the first column, we display the photos previews. In the second column, we have checkboxes, which allows us to add/remove photos from the gallery. And in the last column, we have the photos names. This comes from a Java list. Each time we click on the Refresh Gallery button, the selected photos will be added and the deselected photos will be removed. Now the data table component can be added using the data table tag. Several attributes allows us to shape a nice table as follows. The value attribute is an object, usually a collection that contains the data to be displayed. In our case, we have a list of photos. Next, we have the var attribute. The value of this attribute is a variable name used for looping the data collection. In our case, this variable will be used to loop the photos list. Next, we have the rows, which is an integer value representing the number of rows to display per page. In our case, it will be equal to 10. Further, we have the paginator, which is used for activating/deactivating pagination. By default, this is false, so we will set it to true. Next, we have the paginator template, which is a string that usually contains current page report, first page link, previous page link, page links, next page link, last page link, and rows per page dropdown. Further, we have rows per page template, which is a string representing the template of the rows per page dropdown. In this case, we can set it as 5 and 10. Finally, we have the empty message, which is a string representing the message to display when there is no data to display. In our case, this can be equal to no photos found. The entire list of attributes supported by the data table is available in the PrimeFaces official documentation. Notice that the data table columns are added using the column tag. One of the attributes of this tag is named header text, and it allows us to indicate the column name. In this tag, we can nest text and other PrimeFaces components. In the first column of our table, we can add an icon that will act as a trigger for displaying an overlay panel containing a photo preview. In order to accomplish this, we will use the PrimeFaces graphic image component. This component is capable of presenting photos that are dynamically created, or they come from a database or from a folder. Next, we need the PrimeFaces overlay panel component, which is a generic container able to overlay other components on the page. It supports a custom position, events, effects, and lazy loading. So first, we nest the icon that will be used to show the overlay panel at mouse over event and hide the overlay panel at mouse out event. This icon needs an ID because it is used from the overlay panel. It also needs a name that indicates the icon location, which in our case is the icons folder. Next, we can add the overlay panel and set up its events and effects using the dedicated attributes: show event, hide event, show effect, and hide effect. We need to link the overlay with our icon, and for this, we set the value of the for attribute as the icon ID. Finally, we allow the user to see the close icon, which is available by default for an overlay panel. Now we have the overlay panel and we can define its content, which in our case consists in a photo preview. So all we have to do is to use the graphic image component again. Only that, this time, we will indicate the photo's location. Finally, we have to set the photo's width and height to fit in the overlay panel. The second column, which doesn't need a name, will allow us to select and deselect the photos that will be added and removed from the photo gallery. For this, we can use PrimeFaces checkboxes. One way to display such a checkbox is by using the Select Boolean checkbox component, which allows us to select a Boolean value. By using the Select Boolean checkbox tag, we will link a checkbox to each photo. Besides its name, the photo will have a Boolean property named Selected, which indicates if the photo is selected or not. When we select a photo, this property value becomes true. By default, when the photo is not selected, its value is false. So, when we refresh the photo viewer gallery content, only the selected photos will be available in the gallery. The last column of our data table will contain the photos' names. This can be accomplished by using the Java Server Faces output text component. Finally, we need to nest the data table in a form. This is needed because we have to submit to the server side the user actions. Now, let's see the data table by having a quick test. Notice that we have an empty data table that covers the entire central panel. So, in this video, we have added the data table component. Its value was linked to a server-side list of photos, which will be implemented in the upcoming videos, when we will develop the server side of our application. So far, the data table component contains all photos, and each photo is selectable, has a preview and a name. Hello and welcome to the fourth video of section 2. In the previous video, we have added the data table component. Further, we can add the Galleria component, which will contain the photos listed in the data table. By adding this component, PrimeFaces will render for us an out-of-the-box photo viewer gallery. As you can see, a photo viewer gallery is capable to display a slideshow of photos. It contains a panel for displaying the photos and a film strip that contains all photos of this slideshow. The Galleria component can be added using the Galleria tag. Further, the value of this tag consists in the collection of data to display, and the var attribute indicates the variable name used for looping this collection. In our case, we can use a lambda expression to filter the entire list of photos and extract only the list of selected photos, the ones that have the selected property equal to true. This expression will save us to use two collections, one with all the photos and another one with only the selected photos. Next, we can shape the default look and feel of this component by using several attributes, as panel width and panel height, which allows us to set the proper dimensions of the Galleria window, show caption, which allows us to show or hide the captions, autoplay, which allows us to start or stop the autoplay mode, and finally the effect speed, which allows us to define in milliseconds the slideshow animation time. Each photo that belongs to the gallery is displayed using the graphic image tag nested in the Galleria tag. We already used this tag in the previous video, so we know that it is capable to display photos that are dynamically created, or they come from a database or from a folder. Finally, we need to indicate an ID for the Galleria component, because we will need it to indicate that the Galleria content should be updated when the user clicks on the Refresh Gallery button. This button can be displayed by using the PrimeFaces command button tag. This tag extends the standard Java Server Faces command button with AJAX, partial processing, and skinning features. The attributes of this tag allows us to define from a simple button that doesn't fire a request to a complex button that can fire an AJAX request. So let's see what are the main attributes of the command button, and let's start with the action attribute. The value of this attribute is a method expression or a string outcome that can be processed when the button is clicked. So in our case, we don't need this attribute. Next, we have the type attribute, which defines the behavior of the button. Its default value is submit, which is perfect in our case. The AJAX attribute is a Boolean value that specifies the submit mode. When it is set to true, which is the default value, the submit would be made using AJAX. The onClick attribute indicates the name of a JavaScript client-side callback method. This method will be executed when the button is clicked on and before the form is submitted. Further, we have the process attribute. The value of this attribute is a comma-separated list of components IDs. This component will be processed instead of the whole view. So we don't need this attribute now. Next, we have the value attribute. This attribute indicates the label of the button. The update attribute contains the list of components to be updated when the AJAX request is done. The list contains the components IDs separated by comma, and in our case, we add here the ID of the Galleria component. Finally, we have the icon attribute, which indicates an icon for this button. The easiest way is to type here the name of a built-in jQuery icon. Now, in the PrimeFaces official documentation, you can find the entire list of supported attributes for the PrimeFaces command button component. Finally, we want to display the gallery next to the data table. This can be easily accomplished by using the PrimeFaces panel grid component. One of the most important attributes of this component is the columns attribute, which allows us to indicate the number of columns in the grid. So we have two columns. In the first one we have the data table, and in the second one we have the gallery. Before testing, let's point out again that the Refresh Gallery button will fire an AJAX request. The AJAX request will submit the list of photos and will update the gallery content. The list of photos will reflect the user selections, so when the gallery is updated, it will contain only the selected photos. Now we can perform a quick test. As you can see, an empty Galleria component was added in our application, and it was displayed next to the data table. So, in this video, we have added and configured the PrimeFaces Galleria component. In the next video, we will add the PrimeFaces FileUpload component. See you in the next video. Welcome to the fifth and the final video of section 2. In the previous parts, we have added the data table and the Galleria components. But in order to feed our application with real photos, we need to add the upload feature. So, in this video, we will be adding the FileUpload component. The FileUpload component is available in the next 5 modes. Basic, this is a simple upload that uses the native FileUpload. Single, the single mode allows us to select files one by one. Multiple, which allows multiple files to be selected from the file dialog. Auto, in this mode, the file upload begins after the file is selected. And finally, drag and drop, which in supported browsers, a file can be selected by drag and drop from file system. The upload component itself is the drop zone. For each of these modes, the PrimeFaces FileUpload component can be added by using the FileUpload tag. We choose the multiple approach since a user may need to upload more than one photo, and for this we need to set the multiple attribute value as true. Now let's suppose that we need to shape a FileUpload component that allows us to upload multiple photos in PNG, JPG and GIF formats with a maximum size of 2 MB. For this, we need to provide several attributes as follows. FileUpload listener attribute. The value of this attribute is a method that will be invoked when a file is uploaded. This is a server-side method that will be implemented later. Mode attribute indicates if this is a simple or advanced upload. In our case, it will be advanced. Next, we have the multiple attribute, which indicates if this is a multiple file upload. So, we will set it to true. Next is the update attribute. The value of this attribute is a comma-separated list of components IDs that will be updated after the upload completes. In our case, we can specify here the ID of the upload component itself and the ID of the data table that contains the uploaded photos. The size limit attribute is an integer value used to indicate the file size limit in bytes. We will set it as 2 MB. The file limit attribute is used to indicate the maximum number of files that can be uploaded. We will set it to 300. The allow types attribute is a regular expression for accepted file types. In our case, we accept GIF, JPG, and PNG types. Finally, the drag-drop support attribute, which indicates if the drag and drop is supported. By default, this is true, and it works for supported browsers. We can set it to false. The entire list of attributes supported by the FileUpload component can be found in the PrimeFaces official documentation. Since the FileUpload component must send the selected files to the server, we need to place it in a form. Further, we place the FileUpload component in a dialog component. This can be a modal or non-modal window. For this, we nest the FileUpload component in the dialog tag. Well, this tag supports several attributes that are commonly used as follows. First, we have the header attribute. The value of this attribute is a string that indicates the dialog window name. In our case, it can be upload new photos. The widget var attribute indicates the name of the client-side widget. Using this name, we can show or hide the dialog window by using the show and hide client-side methods. An HTML button can easily control the visibility of a dialog window by calling these methods on the onClick event. The value of this attribute is a boolean that enables modality. By default, this is false, but we will set it as true. Next, we have the resizable attribute. This is a boolean value indicating if the user may or may not resize the dialog window using mouse drag. In our case, we will set it to false. Finally, we have the width and height attribute, which allows us to indicate the dialog window dimension. Next, we have to add another button using the PrimeFaces command button tag. Notice that, by default, the dialog window is not visible until the user presses the button labeled Upload Photos. This is a simple HTML button that doesn't fire a request. When this button is clicked, the dialog window becomes visible because we are calling the client-side show method for the dialog window named Upload Photos dialog. Now the center panel of our application is ready, so we can try to add some content to the header and to the footer sections. We just use the graphic image component to add a header photo and a footer photo. We also add some inline CSS code for aligning the header to the center and the footer to the right. We have just finished the client side of our application. Before developing the server side, we can have a quick test. So, click the Run button. So, let's select several photos for upload. If the selected file is not of supported types, we get a message like this one. So far, the client side of our FileUpload component works perfectly. Of course, you can do more tests for file size limit and file number limit. In this video, we have added the PrimeFaces FileUpload component nested in a dialog component. In the upcoming video, we will start developing the server side of our application. Welcome to the third section of this video screencast. Next, we will create two empty classes that will serve us as the base of the server-side implementation. For this, we will use NetBeans as follows. First, we will build a simple class for saving a photo as information composed of the photo path and the boolean flag indicating if the photo was selected for being added in the gallery. Each photo will be an instance of this class. Further, we will develop a Java Server Faces bean, which will be responsible to provide a list of the available photos and to deal with the upload of new photos. Let's start by adding an empty package under the source packages folder. In this package, we can create an empty Java class by right-clicking on the package name and selecting the Java class option. This class will contain the photo information, so we can name it My Photo. Click on the Finish button. After the stub of this class is created, it's time to go further and create the Java Server Faces bean. Again, right-click on the package name and select this item. Let's name this bean My Gallery bean. Further, select the scope of this bean as View and click on the Finish button. NetBeans will generate an empty Java Server Faces bean using annotations. So in this video, we have created the server-side step classes of our application. In the next video, we will write the code for My Photo class. See you in the next video. Welcome to the second video of section 3. In the previous video, we have created two empty classes, My Photo class and My Gallery bean class. Now, let's pay attention on the implementation of the My Photo class. This will be a simple class that contains information about a photo. Actually, we need a string field for saving the photo name and a boolean field for indicating if the photo should be part of Gallery. So edit My Photo code and add two private fields. Next, we can add a constructor with two parameters. For this, we can use the NetBeans insert code feature. Further, use the insert code feature again and generate the getters and the setters methods for our private fields. Finally, make the class serializable by implementing the specific interface. So in this video, we have created the My Photo class. Now, this class is ready for use. In the next video, we will implement the other class, My Gallery bean class. See you in the next video. Welcome to the third video of section 3. In the previous video, we have developed the My Photo class. Now, let's develop the My Gallery bean class, which is the main class of our application. This class is responsible to sustain the upload process and to provide the collection of photos that will be listed in the data table and in the gallery. So now we can edit the My Gallery bean code and add a private field of type list of my photo objects. For this field, we need to provide the getters and the setters methods, and for this we can use the NetBeans insert code feature. So at start, this list is empty, but we can easily feed it with photos by adding some code in the constructor section. Since this is a view scoped bean, the constructor is called only once per view. You already know that we have to save the photos in the Photos folder. So we need to loop this folder and extract all photos and place them in our list. We begin by adding the Faces context and external context classes. Now we can add some code to loop the folder and extract the photos. For each photo file, we create an instance of the myPhoto class and set the photo name and the boolean value to false, since by default the photo is not added in the gallery. Each photo is added in the photos list. Notice that we try to keep the code as clean as possible, so we don't provide a filter for these files. So now the photos list contains the content of the photos folder. The data table will reflect the content of this list, while the gallery will reflect a filtered version of this list. Remember that the gallery will filter this list to extract only the photos that have the selected property equal to true. At start, all photos have this property equal to false, but the user can modify this state from the data table. Now, if we have a quick test, we should see in the data table the sample photo from here. As you can see, the sample photo is listed in the data table, and we can have a quick preview outside the gallery. But now, we can use the Galleria component also. Just select the sample and click the Refresh Gallery button. Notice that the sample was loaded in the Galleria view. So far, we have added on the server side the code that defines the interaction between the data table and the Galleria component. In the next video, we will implement the server side of the FileUpload component. Welcome to the fourth video of section 3. In the previous video, we have linked the data table with the server side. Further, it's time to write the server-side code that will upload photos from the user computer to the server side in the Photos folder. If we check the index page code, we notice that the FileUpload component indicates that the FileUpload listener is responsible to deal with the upload. This listener is a server-side method named handleFileUpload, and it gets one parameter of type FileUploadEvent. This is a PrimeFaces class used by developers to mainly obtain information about the uploaded file, like the file name and the file stream. So, edit my gallery bin code and let's write the stub of our listener as follows. Next, we quickly add the faces context and the external context. Now, we want to write the uploaded file in the Photos folder, but in order to do that, we need to know that we have an uploaded file. So, we need a simple check based on the FileUploadEvent getFile method. This method returns the uploaded file, or if there is no file, a null value. When we have a file, we can use a simple Java code for writing the file content in the Photos folder. Notice that we can obtain the file name using the getFileName method and the file stream using the getInputStream method. Rest of code is not specific to Java Server Faces or PrimeFaces and uses some basic knowledge about writing a file on a disk using Java. We need to add the uploaded photo in the photos list, otherwise it will not be displayed in the data table until you restart the application or create another view. Remember that this is a view scoped bin and it loops the photos folder in its constructor. that is only once per view. So we will add an instance of my photo created for each uploaded photo. Finally, we have to make our bin serializable by implementing the well-known interface. In this video, we have added the server-side code for our PrimeFaces file upload component. Now we can upload photos on the server and see the list of them in the data table. From the data table, we can add them to the gallery, but these kind of tests will be performed in the next video. Welcome to the final video of section 3. In the previous video, we finished our server-side implementation. Now, we can test the application to see what we have. Well, let's open NetBeans. Let's click on the Run button and wait until the application is running. Since we have only the sample photo, we need to upload more photos, and for this we click on the Upload Photos button. Further, select some photos and click on the Upload button. When the upload section is empty, the photos were uploaded and the data table was updated. Next, just close the modal window and notice that the uploaded photos are now ready to be added into the gallery. Check a few photos and click on the Refresh Gallery button. Now you should see a nice gallery of photos. Now, using the same approach, we can upload 2 more photos. Next, let's say that we want to replace the last 2 photos from the film strip with these 2 uploaded photos. For this, we select the checkboxes of these 2 photos and deselect the ones of the last 2 photos from the film strip. After that, we click the Refresh Gallery button and notice that the gallery was updated. Next, let's pay attention to the data table content and notice that we can see exactly 10 photos per page, but we can easily switch to 5 photos per page, which in this case will result in a data table with 2 pages. If the data table contains more than 10 photos, then another page will be added also. We can easily see this by uploading 5 more photos. So, our data table has 2 pages again. Now, as a final test, let's add all the uploaded photos in the gallery. In this video, we have performed several tests and the application worked very well. In the next video, we will make our application more user-friendly by keeping the user informed about the info and error messages. In addition, we will add an AJAX-based progress bar for tracking the user actions. Hello and welcome to the 4th and the last section of this video screencast. As you know, in section 3, we almost finished the My Gallery application. We are saying almost because we need to make our application more user-friendly by adding some info and error messages and an AJAX loading indicator. In this video, we are going to pay attention on adding the info and error messages. First, it will be nice to inform the user about the success of the upload process. This can be accomplished by using a message of type files were successfully uploaded, or file X cannot be uploaded. In PrimeFaces, we can display Java Server Faces messages by using an overlay panel. A message and an overlay panel is known as the PrimeFaces growl component. We can add this component in Page by using the growl tag. In order to add the text messages that reflects the upload success, we have to edit the index page and add the PrimeFaces growl component like this. First, we add the ID of the component by using the ID attribute. Next, we add the global only attribute. The value of this attribute is a boolean. When it is true, the faces messages without client's IDs are displayed. In our case, we can set this to false, which is the default value. Further, we add the show summary attribute, which indicates if the summary of messages should be displayed. In our case, we can set it to true, which is the default value. Finally, we add the show detail attribute, which indicates if the details of messages should be displayed. In our case, we can set it to false, which is the default value. Since we are using default values, we can delete the last three attributes and keep only the ID attribute. The complete list of attributes for the PrimeFaces growl component can be found in the PrimeFaces official documentation. Now we need to feed this growl with faces messages. The upload process takes place on the server side, so we need to go there and add the messages. For this, we edit the MyGalleryBeans source code and add the messages in Java Server Faces style. You should have no problem to understand this code. First, we add a message of type files were successfully uploaded. This message can be added after the upload specific code is complete. Now, when the file to upload was not found, we can add a message of type file X cannot be found. We can place this message in the body of the file not found exception. Further, any input-output error will fire an input-output exception. So, we have to add a message of type file X cannot be uploaded. Finally, when the getFile method returns null, we can say that the file does not exist. So now, we have the growl component, which is capable to display messages in an overlay panel, and we have added the messages on the server side. Next, we need to update the growl component after each AJAX request that refreshes the gallery. This means that we need to edit the index page and modify the value of the update attribute of our upload component. The growl component will be updated if we add its ID in the list of components IDs of the update attribute. In this video, we have added the info and error messages that will keep the user informed about the upload success. Further, in the next video, we will add the AJAX loading indicator, so follow the story in the next video. Welcome to the second video of section 4. In the previous video, we have added a PrimeFaces growl component to the My Gallery application. Further, we will add the final PrimeFaces component to our application, which consists of adding the PrimeFaces AJAX status component. This component is capable to track the application request's progress in an indeterminate fashion. Next, we want to add an AJAX loading indicator in GIF format. This indicator will be visible when an AJAX request is in progress. It indicates to the user that his request was sent and he should wait until the server answers and the partial rendering is complete. We need this kind of indicator when the user clicks on the Refresh Gallery button or switches between the data table pages. The time spent by the application to deal with this kind of requests can be easily indicated by using the PrimeFaces AJAX status component. In Page, this component can be added by using the AJAX status tag, and it can be shaped in two ways, using facets or callbacks. In our application, we will use facets. This component will be added in the panel grid of our application. Actually, it will act as the header text for the Galleria component. When no AJAX request is in progress, the user will see the My Gallery text, and when an AJAX request is in progress, the user will see the AJAX loading indicator. So let's edit the index page and add the AJAX status component. Notice that we have three facets that should be nested in this component. The first one is named Default, the second one is named Start, and the last one is named Complete. So in the Default and Complete facets, we need to place the text My Gallery, since there is no AJAX request in progress. For this, we can simply use the Java Server Faces output text component. The Start facet should render the AJAX loading indicator, so we can easily add the GIF image by using the PrimeFaces graphic image component. Now the AJAX status component was added. Further, we use the Java Server Faces output text component for adding a header text to the data table. This text is My Photos. And finally, we modify the title of our application from PrimeFaces to My Gallery. In this video, we have added an AJAX loading indicator for our AJAX request. Now the My Gallery application is complete, and we can perform some final tests to see how the info error messages and the AJAX loading indicator works. But for this, you have to follow me in the final video. Well, we almost finished the Rapid PrimeFaces video screencast. This is the final video, so let's remember that in Rapid PrimeFaces video screencast, you had the chance to taste the PrimeFaces flavors through your first PrimeFaces web application. You saw how fast you can use PrimeFaces in a web context and how easy it is to take advantage of the PrimeFaces components. In addition, you saw that with just a snap of a finger you can add AJAX in your applications. Now that My Gallery application is ready, it's time to perform the final test to see how the growth and AJAX status components work. First, let's upload several photos from the local computer. Notice that when the upload is complete, the growl component informs us that the files were successfully uploaded. Next, we can select these photos and click the Refresh Gallery button. When this button is clicked, an AJAX request is fired, and the AJAX status component will display the AJAX loading indicator. This indicator is replaced by the My Gallery text when the AJAX request is complete. So the My Gallery application is complete, and in this final video you saw how the role and AJAX status components work. At the end of this video screencast, we can pull a single conclusion. PrimeFaces really rocks. Even if we just scratched the surface, you saw that PrimeFaces is capable of amazing things. Now it is up to you to dig further and discover many other PrimeFaces features and components. Hope that you have enjoyed this video and you will use PrimeFaces in your next application.